Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Wednesday night live stream with the one and only ReefingWithO. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Dev, how are you?
Good, thank you. Good to see you. Your video quality's looking mighty fine today.
I know. This is, I'm looking at myself and it looks weird. I look so clean.
So crisp. Real cameras over web cameras. Crazy, right?
Right.
How you
I
doing,
know.
buddy?
I'm good, man. I
Yeah?
am good. I'm still amazed. I look good.
Rather smashing. How's the reef tank? How's things? You were just at one of the shows, weren't you? Did you go?
No, I
No?
didn't.
Thought there was one
Headed
in here.
to California next week, though. Um,
Ah, nice.
Hoping to see you there.
Sadly,
It's like a 30-minute plane ride for you, right?
a little longer, but you know,
Okay.
close enough.
Okay.
Uh, yep. Ivan, how to cycle a bare bottom tank? Really the same as a normal tank, but it does take longer when you don't have sand. Sand is a tremendous amount of surface area, so it definitely does help add a lot of bacteria space. Now you can 100% do it bare bottom, but using extra rock in your tank helps. Or I'm a fan of I think it's called Cyperax. It's like a glass media, tons of surface area. That also works very well. So I would personally just throw a bunch of that in the sump to kind of make up for the lack of sand.
It just takes longer.
Yep.
Cloudy. You just deal with. I don't. Yeah, it just takes longer because there's no sand or surface area for bacteria, so just a longer process.
Pretty much, but you'll still get there. Um, yeah. Speaking of that, how's your tank been doing?
Um, Trying to recover. So I don't remember the last time I was on. I was having a phosphate issue where my phosphate was 3. I think the first number was 3 before the decimal point, and it was an auto feeder failing. So
Oh no.
now I'm to zero point 0.8 or zero point 0.9. Water changes, GFO, nitrates 0, phosphates 0.9. So, the reef wasn't happy. It was a really slow go of bringing it down.
What'd you do to bring it back down?
Water changes, GFO. Well, thank you, sir. Water changes, GFO. I have water changes with Instant Ocean. Man, I had to get Instant Ocean cheap because water changes are expensive, Dev. So just
Hey,
water changes and GFO. That's it. No special media, no anything. Water changes and GFO. And in addition, and you might know this, there's been a few times I babysitted a nephew of mine,
mhm.
and like stuff ended up in the sump. Just random baby stuff. Playing cards, things.
You know what happened to me probably a couple weeks ago? Here, hopefully my mic's better. Let me know. Um, there, I was using some really old school bone cutters, and one of the little metal springy pieces broke off and disappeared. So I'm fairly convinced it's somewhere within my sump, or not my sump, somewhere in my display tank, but I can't find it for the life of me. I'm really hoping that there's going to be no fallout of this after the fact, but hopefully not.
Yeah, I found screws. I use those little clamps to like hold cables when you do water changes.
Hmm.
So found some of the, those have metal springs. Found a couple of clamps. Found some coins, pennies. Found just a lot of different things.
Yeah, that happens. Dedicated Reefer, thank you for the $5 super chat. Appreciate it, buddy. Yeah, that's the problem. Do you have an open cabinet though? Is your cabinet open, or do they just open the door?
Cabinet open,
Yeah.
fully open. In fact, my wife, who's standing beside me, who's trying to distract me, has tasked me with finally putting the cabinet on.
You know what's
Um, it wasn't meant to be open, but it is open.
That's fair. Hey, I had my doors off with the NIAS until a few days ago. I finally put them on, and I didn't mind it open at all, oddly. But the kid, it just made me laugh though, because he just figured to open the doors in 2 minutes. I was like, well, that didn't slow him down much.
I also got a new dog, so trying to navigate that. Um, yeah, getting everywhere, doing everything, like having a new kid.
I can relate. What'd you get for a new pooch?
Got a Frenchie.
Oh, nice. Ah, that's awesome.
Yeah, 8 months old, still a baby, still getting into stuff. Ugh,
Lots of work for the first little while.
lots of work.
Yep, I have a few friends with them, and they can be crazy. So hopefully, at least at first, like they'll simmer down when you first come over. They're always nuts for a little bit.
You have a dog, right?
Yep,
Okay. What type of dog do you have?
I have a Brittany Spaniel.
Oh, how old?
Old now. He's like a senior. He's like 7 or 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah, he's. I mean, he has his moments, but he's not crazy puppy energy like he used to be. So
okay.
that definitely helps a bit. Um,
I know.
that's yes, we did survive. Look at that. Uh,
But the tank, I think the tank is back to normal.
mhm.
Excited for the show. Going to pick up some stuff, and I know it's back to normal because finally had to turn the calcium reactor back on.
Yeah, that's
Actually,
promising.
today, yeah, it started. The other day I heard some clicking for a little bit, but today it actually was on all day. So it's gotten to the point now where the calquas are, because it went from from running it pretty much all day to, I'm down to frags because a lot of the colonies like just slowly browned out and then just lost everything, and I just cut it back down to frags. So today it got to the
Ah,
point.
that sucks.
I know. Today it got to the point where you calcium reactor. I heard it clicking all day. I heard the carbon dosor clicking all day, so I knew.
Mhm.
All right, that felt good.
So
Um,
what
Go ahead.
happened? What happened? Because you said you cut off the bases of a bunch of stuff, then re-glued it, right? So what happened with them?
Oh, they just lost. It wasn't a rapid anything. It was just a slow. First, everything went brown. So I
Hmm.
think would ask me how the tank was. I would say different shades of brown. So first, everything went brown, and then it wasn't like, I don't think it was one thing. Like some things just peeled, but it was slow. There was nothing like something died. And I did an ICP, and I did show some heavy metals. And I did buy the Cooper Sorb, and I did buy one of the other Metazorb. But I don't think that was it. But it was just a slow burn. It's weird. Sometimes you can point to something and say, that's it. But it was just a slow burn. It was a slow burn, a really slow burn.
Yeah.
And I think
Sad.
that's the worst. Like, I think if you have, not that you want to crash, but
You'd
if you
rather quick.
yeah, quick, you mourn, and then you sort of, I'm gonna get this, but then every day. So yeah, fish are fine. There are some things that did not skip a beat. Like there's a millipora and frankly, some of the wild stuff like did not. My green slimer, there was some stuff that just didn't skip a beat. Green slimer was as punchy and colorful. That one did not change color. You didn't see any growth tips, so you knew it wasn't growing like it did. But yeah, it didn't lose anything.
Oh, that's promising.
Yeah.
I think some corals are just like tank hardened, right? They're just used to, they can handle whatever comes at it.
So that's the reason I mentioned some of this. It was an interesting mix because some of the stuff was just marriage culture.
Hmm.
So that's not something that I think is tank hardened. Then other things I got as frags. It, like, other things were frags, and I got frags in between, and those are basing out. So it was a weird. Dev, it's one of those things that you cannot put your hands on. The only thing I know for a fact was I had one of the metals was high, but not crazy high off the chart because the
Hmm.
Trident test show, and the phosphate was 3. I think that's the only thing I can point to. I did find Uno cards in the salt pen coins, but I didn't find anything on an ICP.
Well, the coins would be a little bit questionable to me. Um, yeah, I was joking with Fragrad Adam a while ago because he was talking about like finding like some rusty blades in his thing at one point or something. And it's just like, oh, it's trace element dosing. We're kind of like joking about it a little bit. And I was like, huh, I wonder what the point is that if there's actually benefit to it, to an certain extent, or to the point where it could be trouble. But that's my worry about that stupid piece of metal that fell in. I can't find it for the life of me. So it's in there somewhere. But
I found that I've heard, I don't know if it's true, that back in the day they used to put pennies. That's how they treated ink, because you treat ink with copper pennies. That's what I heard. I don't know if
Crazy.
it's true. I just heard that story, so I don't know.
I've
Um,
also heard of people saying tanks crash when throwing pennies in it, so I don't know. That one's a bit questionable in my mind, but who knows?
once a screw dropped in, and I knew
Hmm.
there was a screw there, so I tied a Tunzi magnet to something and just
Swept.
and I got it. I think I ended up getting it, but that's when I had sand. That was a long time ago. I think
Yep.
I got. I don't want to claim that I had that genius idea. I think I got it from Reef to Reef or Reef Central, and
Hmm.
that's what I did. I just moved it around the sand and eventually got it.
I mean, that is a good call. I'm gonna have to try this. I got not over super exciting, but I got this little extension handle for the par meter. So maybe I'll take the old one and like glue a magnet to it.
Okay.
I don't know. Pennies
Anything?
used. Oh
Thanks.
yeah, fair point. Sandy, pennies used to be made out of copper. People
Not
used to.
anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a very good point. Most of them are fake. Hey, did you paint that? Our project?
No. So Greg's Carol daughter, it has a company, Reef Girls Inc.,
Mm-hmm.
and she makes these. So I got this from her at Reefapalooza Orlando. And Dev, I'm telling you, um, under fluorescent light. So I don't
Yeah.
know if you can see on top of my. Oh, this is always weird. On top of my tank, when I have dead colonies, I kind of like mount them onto the Eurobrace. Um, I had this there the other day, and I was doing some work in the tank, and I knocked it, so that's why it's in my hand. I need to
Mm-hmm.
remount it to a base, but yeah, she does this, and then under fluorescent light, like now the blues are on. Oh, that thing pops.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
I did that a while ago. I was saving skeletons and collecting them from friends for a while, and I just hot glue gunned some rocks together, and I just airbrushed a bunch of ones and made a cool little like mini reef. It's kind of fun.
So the interesting thing is, she painted this, and she did such an awesome color.
It
See,
looks good.
we think our families don't pay attention to the colonies, right? But I don't know if you see the level of the. Granted, this fell, so but the yellow and then the int. You know how you would have something that's multicolor, so the base is a different
Yeah.
color,
Show it to the
and
other camera, but
it
yes.
even has growth tips.
Side camera. Yeah, there we go. Nice.
No, this is awesome. When I saw this, I was like, yeah, you can tell her dad knows what he's doing, because if she's looking at if this is based off what she's seeing in the tank, then yeah, it was really cool.
That's pretty awesome. I think it's such an awesome thing to do too, especially if you have like old skeletons that are really cool. But you having this guy on again? Sure am, Greg. Dun
Mm,
dun dun.
I know. Any piece of equipment you had, Dev? Anything new you're playing with?
Um, my newest splurge would probably be the Avast Plank Auto Feeder,
Ooh.
and then slightly less exciting, but my extension wand for the par meter. Those are probably my only really new little reefing toys lately. I
Um,
actually tested nitrate and phosphate last night on both tanks. I know I was proud of myself. That one disappears, but
how were they?
here, let me check. I think I was 40 nitrate and zero point 0.2 on the water box, and I think I was 12 nitrate and 0.007 on the NIOS tank. Pretty sure that's what I was at. So not bad. Not terrible. Water box is a smidge high, but not the end of the world. Greg, smash that thumbs up button. Appreciate it, guys. If you enjoy it, as always, hit that like button.
So
So,
my newest toy
yeah, what'd you get?
is the Trident NP.
Nice. How's it going so far?
I think it's working fine. So, Devin, it's one of those devices where I think some of them I need to be convinced, and I am convinced.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's the same build quality as the regular Trident.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a little different. I think there's a little refinement, right? Little
Yep.
refinement. I think even the pull-out draw is different. Oh, my dog is going mental. Sorry. The packaging is a little different.
Mm-hmm.
My one thing, and what I'm really hanging my hat on, is that over time, I hope the reagents get cheaper, because for me, the way I'm
Yeah.
projecting about $30 a month to run it.
That's fair
But
points.
when the Trident first came out, that's one of the things I didn't like about it is that the reagents were expensive. So
Hmm.
hopefully you can get like a 6 month reagent pack later, which brings the cost down. But the only thing I don't like about it is, um, I think maybe because you just put the reagents in and you don't mess with it for 2 months, I think it's a little bit more stable than the Trident. It it doesn't feel that way to me.
Hmm.
When you put them side by side, I mean, it comes with a little drip tray.
Yeah.
So the people who are really like crazy about everything lining up when you put them side by side, they like one is higher than the other. So I hope they sell the tray for the regular Trident eventually.
I'm pretty sure they do. I think you can buy it somewhere as like an accessory. So
But it's working. It shows up on the dashboard, dude, and it tests once a day, and it just shows up in the dashboard. It just works.
yeah.
So I like it. I got no complaints about it. Again, my only thing is the cost, um, is the ongoing cost. And again, I feel good about it. Going forward, if they bring the cost down for consumers. The other thing I was testing is the Reef Factory, and
Hmm.
man, I really love that thing. Unfortunately, had to send it back because one of the pumps broke, and then
Oh no.
I don't think I think BRS didn't have the pump in stock, the
Hmm.
replacement pump in stock, so I sent it back. But um, in terms of when I was running it for about a week, when I was running it and the Trident, like the numbers, the going up, going down were in trending. I never look at it and say this is accurate or try to calibrate or something. I just want to see the trends, and they were trending in the right direction.
Nice.
Um, you notice some weird things when you're testing phosphates every day. So, you know, when I emptied my Chato, when I cleared out my Chato, when I cleared out half
Yeah.
my Chato, um, phosphate spiked for a couple of days.
Huh.
Um, so I've tried this in the month I've been running it. Again, one guy's experience. Chato, I don't, again, for my tank, please, guys, don't take this as gospel. My Chato does not lower my nutrients. It'll hold it low
Fair.
when it's there. But if you put a piece of Chato in and expect it to lower the nutrients, so I think Chato is like algae management, where I don't think you could, if you have algae in your tank, your best bet is to go in and get it out and then sort of have the fish manage it when it's low. But I didn't see any evidence from the 1 month. I didn't see any evidence the where the Chato actually lowered the nutrients. What happened is I only saw dips when I did GFO and when I did
Hmm.
water changes, but the Chato held it.
Hmm.
Whatever feeding I was doing, it held once it stabilized it there, but it did not lower it. No matter
Yep.
when the algae bed was small and when it got big, I have almost a 4 foot, 3.5 foot refugium. So I maybe that's my system, but it's interesting, and that makes sense to me. Like it'll hold it steady for you, but
Well,
if you drop Chato in and expect it to lower your nutrients, I don't think it will.
I'm far overdue for thinning mine out. So I'm curious to see if I notice a big change when I pull half out. So I'm curious to experiment with this. Fish Ventura, thanks. Hump Day, appreciate it, buddy. Thanks for the super chat.
Yeah.
Much appreciated. But yeah, I'm really curious to see what effect it has now because I haven't. I actually put Chato in to my refugium after realizing how high my nutrients are once I started using the MP. So I'm not gonna lie, I haven't checked my nitrates and phosphates in ages. And then when I put it on, I was like, "Whew, these numbers are pretty high. I should probably do something about it." So it's made me trying to like knock them down slowly.
I also have too many fish.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's why I keep saying like there's too many variables here. I have too many fish in a 150. Actually needs to thin out the herd.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have too many fish. I have a gigantic powder blue that I should not have. I have
Mm.
a oh my gosh, you're gonna make me do an inventory. Gigantic powder blue. Like he's an adult already. I have an Achilles. I have a koi scopus. I have two yellow tags. I have a Tomini tag. I have a fox face, like a magnificent phosphate. I have a coral beauty. I have like one of those Watanabe angel. I
Yeah,
have clownfish. I
good
think
chunk.
last I counted, it was like I was up to. I have three Antheas. I feed 7 times a day.
Hmm.
I know when my auto feeders run out because I have one with pellets, one with flakes. Whenever I come home and I see aggression, I know one of the auto feeders run out. So that's the reason I can keep them happy is you just
Yep.
feed multiple times.
Feed
So the
heavy.
minute auto feeder runs out or I go a few days without adding any kind of seaweed, oh, you see them starting to chase each other.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah, no, it definitely makes a big difference. Like when they're hungry, they're definitely more aggressive. I've noticed that many times over the years. Okay, so John, took my Chaeto out and corals look better. Doesn't Chaeto take out some elements? Yeah, it definitely soaks up trace elements as it grows. Like it will take up iron, molybdenum, probably a bunch of other, but I know those are the two heavier ones it sucks out. So yeah, it definitely does.
I think so. And
Hmm.
my only evidence of that is based on what Triton gives you when you're so two things based on what the Chaeto grow that you get, I think is mostly iron, molybdenum. Shoot,
Something
I think
else.
I really pronounced it. Molybdenum.
Yeah, sounds close enough.
Okay. So yeah, iron and a couple of other things. When that's what Triton has, and then I
And
think
cobalt.
that's what Chaeto grow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm guessing that algae takes up.
Hmm.
Um, Snoop Dogg. Let me just see. I'm on my Trident NP. Snoop Dogg.
PO4 readings are off. It's testing low 0.05. And Hano is 0.14 to 11. I know initially mine was a bit off, but through firmware updates, it's more or less fixed a lot of that. So it might be just make sure all your stuff's up to date too. But I also started beta testing it way back when, so this is like before it was even released.
I think my camera died, so I
Dun dun dun.
switched
Ah,
real quick.
welcome back.
We'll figure it out.
Fast.
So, Snoop Dogg's Reef. I'm on my second Trident NP. My PO4 readings are still 50% off. Is testing okay? No offense, Snoop Dogg's Reef, but I think I really don't understand. I don't get the need to have something match the Hannah. And who says the listen? I love Hannah. I love Hannah. I still use my Hannah checkers all the time. I don't want to make it sound like, but who says the Hannah is like the truth? You know, I don't know. Listen, it could be your Trident, but I don't like when people say that. I, when I was testing with my Coral View IV and I had
Hmm.
the Alphatronic and I still had the Trident, like all three, I think the last time I was on here, I said like everything was off. And I got the comment like, hey, I think there was something happening with my reagent because then when I
Hmm.
changed my IV reagent, everything came back within range. But someone asked me, like, why didn't you just do the offset? I was like, I don't feel the need to. Like when I averaged everything, it was about 9. So I said, all
Hmm.
right, I'm gonna just imagine it's 9. But what happened with all these tests is when one went up, they all went up. When it was
Yeah.
trending down, they all trended down. So I don't the absolute number I wasn't, you know,
Yeah.
convinced. They had a checker. I think Dev. I think you and I have done. I think you.
Well,
This I got this from you, where all the
the
bottles.
covets.
Yeah, they're all different. So and then you're filling it. We're filling it. Well, I'm now filling it with my little handy dandy thingy that you recommended to me.
You
But
focus on it.
yeah,
Focus. Yeah, like you can see the lines are, like a millimeter off on each one. Like
yeah,
they're not perfectly aligned.
yeah, they're
Yep.
off a little bit. So they're. I just picked up two random ones, and yep, they are off.
Yep. I know
So
you mentioned that I looked at mine. I'm like, son of a. So that's the thing too. Like I make sure that I use the same one and the same thing now. Focus.
yep, mine was like a stairway to heaven
Yeah.
thingy. Like you can see, look at that.
Yeah. I know.
So
So.
that, and then I realized by watching, I was watching one of my friends do his test, and crazy me, I make sure I do my best to get every piece of powder out of that thing. Where
Mm,
sometimes, and some people just knock it in and just keep doing it. So I don't know. I feel really listen. Your Trident might have really been working, but I just like die a little inside when someone says like oh, I didn't match this other test kit, so they don't trust it. I really don't understand that logic.
Yeah, I mean, I've been down the rabbit hole where I want everything to match perfectly. But yeah, the trends are the most important part, for sure. But yeah, there you go.
Somebody said
Uh,
ICT test and see what's closest. Like that too is.
or just buy like a third test kit, and then you can like see where the majority fall, right?
I
You
just
need,
average them 9, and they were like, I always say. So someone said, "What if it's 9? And it's really 8?" I was like, "There's no action I will take if my alk is 8 or 9. There is no action
it's true.
that's different between 8 or 9. Like the earth, the sky isn't falling at that point. 8 and 7 not falling, but 8 and 9 there is no action. So I just imagine it's 8.5 and I keep it moving.
Yeah, is it going up or is it going down?
Mm-hmm.
But so I guess okay. So here, yeah, pretty much. It's the trending that's most important. But I do agree though. Like I've been down those rabbit holes where I want everything to match, and I've been down there, so for sure. But the other thing is too with that one, Snoop too. Like try rerunning the calibration if you still have some. I know that too. Like rerun it through it, suck all that stuff through it, let it retest everything. And I did that just for fun because I'd have a bottle left, and that kind of fixed it off too. How did your Reef Factory readings compare to it? Actual Hannah. Yeah, that's a bigger spread. So that, I mean, it is a bit trickier, 0.05 to 0.19. But if you have any reagent, I would just try recalibrating that baby and then see if it's still like that. What's going on, Producer Reef? Finally catching his stream. So there's a couple questions they're asking about what you're rocking for hydros, since you're wearing your hydro shirt. Um, what are you actually using from hydros on yours?
Oh, man. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I am using. Okay. Okay, I think I need to check because oh my gosh. So I'm using a Control 4.
Mm-hmm.
That's like calcium reactor. I'm using an 3 XP8 and an X10 and an IV.
Good chunk.
Yeah. So the X10, that's doing the. I have a couple of those little dosing pumps also, which I'm using for flatworm stop and coral booster. But pretty simple. Well, I was going to use the word simple, but not really simple. But yeah, I like the hydros. I use both devices. So for my main system, it's mostly hydros. Let me try
Mm-hmm.
a. Oh, can't scoot. Scooting in the wrong direction. Yeah, it's hard to see. Anyway, yep. Mostly hydros, and then on my kids tank, it is mostly the Neptune. At work, because it's a commercial environment, and it's really hard to um at work. It's kind of difficult for Wi-Fi. Like it's a corporate Wi-Fi, so there's a time there's a finite time period where you can be on the Wi-Fi. Like you can just
It's a captive
refresh.
portal,
Yes,
like guest portal. That's why.
but so in that case, because I needed a physical physical network switch, so I use the Apex at work. So it's been working fine. And then of course, if I need to do devices in between, I run on the baseboard. I run like a Aquabus cable in stages. So if because I've had wire failed and then you have to rerun the entire thing. So I daisy chain Aquabus cables together to connect like devices in between. So I have a Hydros device in the bedroom somewhere, and I do have like device here. It's don't 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 do what I do, kids. It's not very efficient. I'm just I'm just crazy.
Yeah. Okay. Refix article by Lewis. So this is probably more to the Hannah stuff. But he goes, that's why I use the variable pipette Jake recommended way back when, faster and accurate. I actually have one of those too, and do agree because even if you're not looking at the vial, the line per se, it's you're very ticky. But you're consistent, right? And that's the biggest thing. So even if you're measuring high or low, you're consistent and measuring the same way every time is the best way to know if you're going up or down or what's happening with it. 75-gallon mixed reef is exploding in growth. Nice. Yeah, so you're using Alpha Reef, Will. I so far I think it's a really cool product. Like I've been rocking it for a few months now in the nano, and it's supplementing my other tanks as well, and it's working pretty well. Oh, those audio died. Da-na-na. Nope, don't hear you, buddy. Um,
Can you hear me now?
yep, you're back.
I like that. One dosing pump works.
Yeah, I like the simplicity of it. Snoop Dogg. I love Hannah as well. Been using them for San forever. I mean, to your mic is low. Yeah, I know. Here, let me push it up some more. I'm trying not to go too loud, but so yeah, with the Hannah, it takes out some of the error in testing from reading color. So that's kind of my go-to as well, just because it takes away another variable of messing with it. So I mean, I kind of treat it as like the most accurate of the test kits. But again, that all comes down to being consistent in the vials and using the same vial in the same direction. All those stupid little things you gotta take in consideration.
I love the Hannah because I can't see the color. Like, can you
Yep.
imagine, especially when you get low? Like, I can't see the difference between the pinks and the yellows and the. Um, I really can't see. So I love Hannah for the digital readout. And somebody say ABC reagent. Someone's recommending it. I actually bought some for my Trident. Um, I haven't used them yet because I just sent in my Trident for service, and you
Mm-hmm.
get free reagents. I haven't used them yet, but I'm gonna try it.
I looked and they wouldn't. They would. There's only like one kit they sent to Canada, and they wouldn't like ship the other ones for some weird reason. So I've never actually tried them. So I just use the official ones. But I kind of only test half as much, so they last a lot longer, which hasn't really been that big of a deal. But that's what I've been doing for a while now.
Hey,
DJ,
that's me. Oh,
that's you.
yeah, it's nothing. I think it costs like a buck for you to get on the plane and do it. So I
Technical
really
difficulties.
appreciate. Oh, you can hear me?
Yeah, you're super staticky though.
Un momento, por favor.
Sounds good. I was on dial up. He started hit the stream with like a fancy camera and like super pristine. Now we're down to the web camera. DJO. Exactly. Um yeah, heard a lot of good things to be honest. Does anyone know the shelf life of the reagents? I don't know. I'm curious about that as well. Attempt to try Alpha Reef from my two-part. Yeah, I mean, it's not that the NIOS is packed full of coral. There's only a few things in there now, but I've been using that since I started the tank, and I've been using on my little 14, 15-gallon nano. And I love the simplicity of just one single dosing pump. Like, it's a nice contrast to my 10 different dosing methods on the big tank. What's going on, Josh? Hello. Welcome back.
Hey, Dev, can you hear me?
I can. Nice and clear. I'll take it. No more DJing, though. Um, Will, as a Hydros control user and first controller, I gotta say I really like the ease of devices and add-ons. What do you guys dislike about the Hydros control system? My only complaint was it did not like my Wi-Fi. So for me, this could just be a me issue. I did use it for, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, but the power bars would drop off and just stop responding, and I'd have to like reset them and repair them, and it got annoying, so I quit using it. Um, but I think they just don't like my Wi-Fi, so that was my gripe. But lots of other people have, no problem with it. So, but it was pretty cool aside from that point. So I've done that. I'm using the Neptune Apex now. That one's been solid and reliable. It's worked well for me. I used GHL before. That was also very solid and reliable. The interface was in programming was a bit of a pain, but it was a very solid system. Yeah, I used the Wi-Fi bars. This was before the XP8 came out. And then what else did I use? There's another one I used like many, many, many years ago. I don't know if they're around anymore.
The Reef
E-Coral,
Keeper.
that's what, no, E-Coral, that's what it was. I had that one on a nano for a long time. That was pretty good. But it was harder to
You never
find.
used the Reef Keeper?
No, I didn't actually. I know people that had it, but I never had one. My very
Yep.
first ever controller, I DIY'd with like a, I don't know if it was a Raspberry Pi or Arduino. I built a couple different ones. And then eventually ended up buying a used Apex because it was cheaper than buying all the little pH stamp things for like the pH and ORP and all the sensors. It was cheaper to buy a used one. So that was what started me down this rabbit hole way back when.
I think the E-Coral is no longer in the US, but I think it's around somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's overseas. I think you can still get it, but I think the temperature sensor, a couple of sensors died over time, and then it was a pain to find it. But
Gotcha.
but it but the controller itself was still going strong. The dosers are still awesome. It's just a couple of the add-ons eventually bit the dust. Economical
Yeah.
reefer. Honest opinion, can you completely remove vermetid snails? You can kill them. You would still have to physically remove the tubes though. Bumblebee snails will absolutely hunt them down. I took a little video clip of it fairly recently of one going and eating out the little snail in the tube. So they 100% do. Or you can do the coral snow method where you essentially starve them out because you're feeding them non-nutritional calcium powder. But even if they die off, they're still going to be little tubes. So you still have to like break them off somehow or if you want to fully make them gone.
Okay, interesting. I've heard of that. Did it work for you?
Which one of many?
The coral snow.
Um, it definitely, I think so because I stopped seeing the tubes, but I also added bumblebee snails. So I took like the two-prong approach, but I definitely think that they both. I would just tag team do both methods, but I definitely do think they both do help.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
bumblebee snails, for me, they ate the small ones. Um, and I had to crush the big ones.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I mean,
bumblebee snails are a carnivorous snail, so they eat other snails. So you
that
put
is
them
a
in.
risk. That is a
Yes.
risk.
No, that's fine. I'd rather get rid of the what's the name snails and then sort of. But bumblebees are small,
They're
and
tiny.
your turbos and your things are big. So I don't think they're gonna go after your big
So
turbos and your big.
the funny thing is,
Oh,
my poor nano that's been neglected has tons of vermetid snails in it now, and a bunch of Aptasia, which I just keep looking at it, thinking I got to deal with it, and I haven't got around to it yet. But so I in my Nios, I'm like, oh, here's a couple snail shells, and I see this small pile of bumblebee snails in one corner of my tank one day. So I grabbed, I think, 3 of them and put them in my nano to let them go to town on the vermetid snails. So I'm curious to see if I just
any
I literally within an hour of putting them in, I saw them eating a vermetid snail already. So that was
oh,
promising. So I am
oh,
curious if I like just leave just the bumblebee snails in there and to see how long it takes for them to deal with them.
interesting. Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah. So okay, John, do you slow down your wave makers at night? I do not. Way back in the early days of reefing, I thought about it and I did do it, but now I'm like the ocean, you know, there's still currents. Like yes, waves and stuff can slow down ish and it can be tied to moon cycles and all this jazz. But at the same time, the currents are always going. There's always, tons of flow in the ocean. So I don't do it anymore. I leave basically all my pumps on just like a reef crest random mode 24/7. So they're all somewhat variable up and down. So it gets a bit of variability, but it's not tied to light cycles anymore.
Yeah, I don't turn them down, but I do use the lagoon mode at night versus reef crest.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I do. Just change to same percentage, just the flow is not as chaotic.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to do that. It's been a while though. Um, Brandon Scott Art. Are we losing the zen of taking care of our tanks with auto testing? I want a Raven. What's the Raven? I don't know. I got a note tested system.
Maven. I think
Oh,
he meant
Maven.
Maven.
Okay. All right, that makes more sense. Um, I don't know. I think it depends on the type of person you are. Like, I think if you are someone that tests your tank every week, then it's probably, you're probably fairly in tune. If you're slack and never test your tank, then I think they're good for you to have, because it's better to have this information than just ignore it until an issue happens eventually. So I just think it kind of depends on that. Like, I know in my early days and I had lots of free time, I'd, get all mad scientist and test a bazillion things every week, and now life is crazy and I never test. So without auto testers, who knows what would happen. So I appreciate from that perspective. So I think it depends, if you're single and you got lots of free time, I mean, test away, keep the zen going. And, if you end up having kids and out of town for work and all that stuff, then I think auto testers can save you to a certain extent. Again, you don't need it, but they definitely are nice to have.
I was having a discussion a few months ago, and
Mm-hmm.
I think the consensus the group discussion came to is I've never seen auto testing an equipment take a bad reefer to a good reefer. I've never seen we've seen it take good reefers to great because it allows them to focus on other things.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never like equipment. No, my short answer is no, because if you're a bad reefer, you're a bad reefer. Like auto testing and getting radions versus and upgrading from something to radions will not turn you from a terrible reefer to a good reefer. So no, you can make a good reefer a great reefer, a better reefer because it frees you up.
Wait,
Like you now, I think in
caveat.
your chance.
I'm gonna devil's advocate you. It can also
Mhm.
make a great reefer a crappy reefer if you never calibrate it or ever double check it, and then you're relying on false information. So just know, all these gadgets, eventually you need to maintain it. You got to replace tubes in it. You got to, calibrate it. So over time, readings may drift if you don't take that time to do the, periodic maintenance. I didn't want to throw that out there because, I've
No,
ignored stuff for a long time. And it's like, oh, that's way off. Whoops. Right. So,
if anybody thinks you put something on a tank, and if anyone thinks you put something on a tank and you don't have to maintain it or check it, then I think you're doing yourself and your reef a disservice. Like everything needs to be checked and maintained. So the thinking
mhm.
is you put something on a tank and don't have to worry about it for months at a time, 6 months or a year at a time. Like, no, I don't think it works. You're in the wrong hobby. I think this is where if you ask about where my wife and I differ is that she thinks like I mess with the tank too much. I'm like, I'm just doing maintenance. Like that's
Mhm.
just maintaining it. She thinks, okay, it's good. Leave it alone. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. Like stuff can't you need to clean the skimmer, you need to check pumps. So yes, I agree with you.
Mhm.
But to me, that's like someone who it was living on the edge anyway. Because someone who's gonna get a good piece of expensive equipment like an Apex or a Trident and is not going to maintain it or check it and expects it to do the work for them without doing anything, like that's to me that's unrealistic expectation. So I see your point,
Yep.
but I still think it doesn't.
Old school, new
Yeah.
adventures. Lars syndrome is common. See, it's true. You get complacent after a while. You're like, oh, I got these auto testers. I don't have to test anymore. But eventually, you still got to maintain it periodically. Like, just keep that in mind. I don't care what brand. I don't care what tester it is. Eventually, you got to replace the tubes. If the tubes start to get worn and, they're all compressed, they're not pumping through the right amount of liquid, they're not going to be reading right. So it's one of those things.
um when someone said chasing numbers, they're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
um the only thing I have to say is that anyone who thinks you get to a specific number and then things are magic, I think a lot of times you're doing yourself a disservice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've seen so many. See, I think this is why this hobby intrigues me because I've seen so many good tanks at so many different parameters or way of reefing. The other crazy thing too, Dev, is that it depends on where the tank is. Like every tank is so. If you and I set up a tank and we set them up exactly the same, they're going to be different.
Yeah.
I know I sound like a broken record. I've brought this up so many times, but I distinctly remember going to a forum somewhere for help. And this guy was like, we were talking about filter socks. And this guy said, I was a new reefer. And this guy said, I hate filter socks. I never use them. They're the bane of my existence. And he showed his tank. And I was like, I'm not going to use filter socks. I said, I'm not going to use filter socks because that guy had a 10-year-old mature reef.
Mhm.
And then once a year, he went into the sump and vacuumed out detritus, right? He had
Yeah.
an oversized skimmer that would do the job. Me as a new reefer, taking filter socks off, it was the worst decision I could have ever done for my tank. So, everything is in context. Everything depends on the tank. And, like if the thinking is you're going to put something on the tank and don't have to check it, yeah, no,
Yep.
sorry.
No, it's true. Okay, just before this one scrolls away and forget about it, me, RPZ88, started cycling a new tank, not ready for fish. Can I add ammonia or should I add something else? Yep, 100% ammonia. You can get pure ammonia, don't get any of the additives. And if you dose your ammonia up to like 1 to 2 ppm type of thing, you're going to be feeding the bacteria and kind of keep it going strong. So in lieu of fish, just, every, 4 or 5 days is put a few drops or a squirt of ammonia in there and you'll keep feeding it. You can actually build up the bacteria population. That's kind of what I normally do when I pre-cycle rock as well.
Um, Yep. Good to see you again. Since rap, Devin, we got to get you to a rap, dude.
I know. Next year I'll start doing shows again. Life will be back to normal.
All right. Yep. Someone said that
slow.
DJ Mike Fury said he'd rather use Hannah checkers. I love my Hannah checkers, and I still use them. Maintenance was too much of. I get it. I really do get it. I really get. I do get it. I love the testing is the part of reefing that to me is, because you have to take out the testers. I don't know. I was happy to automate testing. I don't think there's a lot. I tried automating so many other things. Feeding and testing are the two things I automate. I tried to automate like skimmer. Remember with the skimmer swabby, and there's so many things I like to automate, but
Yep. No, it's true. But I mean, it depends on your lifestyle, what kind of reefer you are, what your mentality is like. Even still, like I'm always like, I'd never have socks again, blah, blah, blah. I'm obsessed with filter rollers. And I haven't bothered putting a filter roller on my other tank yet, which made me laugh. But I did just buy mesh socks. I'm like, I'll just put these in for now. And then they clog eventually, but they last so much longer than the felt ones. So they're not doing much for nutrients purposes, but they just capture the big stuff. So that's a trade-off. Eventually I may break down, put a filter roller in, but so far I actually haven't minded it, oddly enough. Because I can go, it's not every couple days. I can ignore it for a week or two, then clean them.
My office tank needs some more filter, so I haven't decided if I'm going to put a skimmer or a refugium on it. Something like a hang on the back refugium. I haven't decided.
That's fair. This is the nano one, or which one?
Yeah, it's a max spec dice.
Yep.
20. I think I can cut the. I does need some more filter. Like, yes, and do water changes, but I think it needs either a skimmer or a refugium with some Chaeto. I haven't decided yet. Yep. I also don't. I really would like to try the Hello Reef kit. Yep. I see you have one.
I do.
So there is a world where if I could get my hands on that, hint, Ecotech, I will. I'll probably swap out the max spec dice for it.
Nice. What size is the dice?
12.
Okay, so it's similar. Do you know what's funny? I don't know if it was the dice, but I was looking at the stands on BRS. It was for one of the max spec ones. I was like, oh, this is for my Hello Reef, because I've been contemplating if I move it to my office later.
But we're gonna change offices, and I wonder if this is the perfect time to get a Lagoon 25.
Ooh, yes, it
and
is.
Just make a flat tank.
It probably is.
Low energy during the day, so when you're in the office and you're looking down, it looks so pretty.
That'd be cool.
And then at night, like the flow churns up.
I've always liked those tanks. I've never had one, but I always wanted one. So one day I like it. Do it so I can live vicariously. You already have one, but
so one. Yeah. So Mike, I don't know. Man, sometimes I make so many changes I forget. So On the last call, on the last time we streamed, I think one day in a fit of rage, I cut out the baffles for my kids' Lagoon 25 and made it into one big chamber. And then I
I
tried to
don't get
use
it, but
like,
yes.
I try to make it into like I put hang on the back filters, try to put the tonsy internal filters, and didn't feel right. So what I did is actually drilled it and used the X Aqua in and out overflow.
Yep.
In my kids' room, there's a dresser. So I put a 10-gallon Petco tank in between, made a sump. So now it just drains into a sump. There's an overflow, drains into the sump. But now I really love the tank because there's no cover on it. Someone bred some clownfish locally and gave them to me. But you walk into my kid's room and, you know, we're all tall people in my household. So we just look down into the tank and I love it, Dev. I absolutely love it. During the day, there's less surface agitation. And during the night, like it kicks up. I put Reborn on the bottom because I want to keep a ton of mushrooms. I think it looks nice. Those look down tanks are really nice. Tanks where you look down, and then I have a big scolie there. I have a big meat coral. The mushrooms are growing now. The lagoon tanks are nice. They're just really expensive now because Innovative Marine doesn't sell you just the tank anymore. You buy it with a bunch of pumps and a bunch of other things. So instead of it being $200, it's now $500.
Yeah,
which I know.
Yeah, because they used to be really good tools for their tanks. Yeah, I thought it was good. Okay, if you drilled your tank and put a sump on it, that makes sense. But at first I was like, why did you take out the baffles? Because my thought was always drill the bottom of the tank in the baffle, and then you could like hide all your stuff and just use the stock returns. But you get more tank space, so I understand your logic now.
So that is a eShops, Florida. So what I actually did with that, Dev, is I drilled the back, and it just goes. If you see, of course you can't see it. Maybe if I had my nice camera, I could focus. But I drilled through the stand, so that just floats. That just drains into the sump, and then I have a P-mop just mixing. Yeah, and that absolutely works.
Nice.
I still have the eShops return. All I did was drill really high on the return section. Yeah.
Do you know what I did for fun? I cut out one of my P-mumps died. So I cut the cable, the 24-volt cable, and I put a 12 to 24, or no, a 24 to 12 volt voltage divider or regulator or whatever in the middle of it. And then I put one of the Tunesy pumps on it for fun because I had one. So I used the Tunesy pump to do, you said you used it for a calcium reactor. I tried it, it was too loud, I couldn't do it. So now I replaced it as an ATO pump, but I wired it into the 24-volt port on the Neptune power bar. That's working pretty solid.
Wait, you said it was loud for the calcium reactor?
Yeah.
Mine is silent, dude.
It was quiet, but I could hear it, which made it the loudest thing on my tank. So I was like, nope.
Okay.
So now it's being my ATO pump via the 24-volt port on the Neptune from the floor below to push up the floor. And it's working pretty well for that. So I repurposed it for that purpose. Thought it worked out pretty well.
Jamie, thank you for posting that. So the Fusion 25 all-in-one Lagoon starter kit is actually $199 from Innovative Marine.
Solid.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Dev, so something happened. So my calcium, because I haven't been using my calcium reactor for the last 4 months because of my little mini crash. The water that comes out of my calcium reactor that pours into my refugium, it clogged because there was algae coming out of it, which is interesting. It wasn't touching the water, so algae literally grew in the air. You know, because it's your calcium reactor, you don't mount it below the water because you want to see the drip rate or the flow rate. Oh yeah, enough algae glue. So that's the one time the pump was actually loud for me. Is yeah, it was weird though.
Yeah, that is weird. I guess it makes sense. I've had the little like tube like gum up a bit, and I think I cut a chunk off or replace it at some point. So I have done that over the years. So that kind of makes sense. But that is weird with it coming above. You wouldn't think of that, but totally if it's always wet, then.
I'll send you a picture. I speaking aloud, I'm using a MaxiJet, the loudest thing on my tank. I'm using so because of GFO, I'm using like a little two little fishies reactor. So that's the loudest thing on my tank.
Yep.
It's annoying.
Yes, it's always a battle. I'm sorry, I forget who asked this, but a while ago in the chat, someone's asking about the thoughts on gyres. Gyres, I love the flow out of them, but my gripe with them is that once they're dirty and they get dirty and algae and stuff on them relatively quickly, their flow drops off fairly dramatically. So you have a pretty big hit to your flow. I still use one, but they're more of a pain to clean. My original like Jabo ones from knockoff ones from a bazillion years ago were a huge pain in the butt to clean. Right now I have the AI ones, and they're not too bad actually. Like they're fairly easy to clean, and it's kind of like color coded, and it goes back together pretty easy. Like they annoy me less to clean versus the old school ones I had, so they definitely improved over the years. But yeah, super cool flow. There's tons of great use cases, especially when we want that sheet of water across the top. I have one at the top just under my overflow teeth of peninsula to like shoot that 6 feet down the tank and help with that. But again, yeah, it's like I can see mine's covered in algae, and last week I cleaned all my vortex. I'm like bloop, 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 super quick and easy, but I didn't get around to clean the gyre yet because I got to fish the wires out and all that jazz. So a little more effort on that front. Those are my thoughts.
I have nothing to add to that. That is absolutely true. I keep the current version of the gyres. Is Brandy and I have. I think Brandy has my old gyres. Like I don't. I will like, hey Brandy, I tried a gyre again. Are you interested in another gyre? And we'll do a trade. But nice. I think the newest version is the only one I haven't tried, and for exactly the same reason. Like I fall in love with them, but then after a couple of months of the maintenance, I just get so frustrated. So yeah,
well, that's fair. So I mean, they have great flow. They work well until they're dirty, and then they need love to regain your glorious flow. DJ Mike Fury. Now that I started going towards SPS and they're taking hold, elk calcium consumption is increasing. When did you make the switch from two-part to other methods? At what certain mill rate? So it depends. So if you're just swapping like one dosing product to another, usually you just want to do a bunch of testing when you first do it and just see, make a rough guess based off the instructions. And is your elk going up or is it going down? Or is it consistent? If it's consistent, you're golden. If it's going down, up your dosing a bit, and kind of just go off that. But for when you're going for other methods, like, adding in kelp or going to a calcium reactor, kelp, I feel like you could add at any time in up to as much as you evaporate. And again, you'll just have to keep an eye on your elk and, lower your two-part likely. If you're doing something like a calcium reactor, when to go that method, to me, it just depends on when you feel that dosing is getting too expensive. Because, they're expensive up front, but long-term, they're dirt cheap to run. So, but, if you're spending $100 a month on two-part or, $50 a month, you got to say, okay, is it worth it yet, right? Because you're going to be, a good $1,000 in a calcium reactor. You're buying it new, or, you're buying a used one less, but.
That is true. It's not only the cost. When it gets to the point, I think I saw the most egregious example of this is, I think, Reef Bum, where he was going through like a bucket a week of two-part. He decided, so I think there's a point where you're like, man, I'm replacing these dosing, right? So instead of doing maintenance on the calcium reactor once or twice a year, and maintenance, I mean topping it up, because if your calcium reactor is well designed and it has enough flow going through, you shouldn't. I see some people having to clean out their calcium reactors. I don't know if I've ever had to do that. I think mine melts down to nothing, so I usually just top it up. And I think you customize yours where you had like a Vectra added to your calcium reactor. I remember that.
Yes, but that's because I have an obsession with making my tank as quiet as possible. Not the most practical, but yes, it made me happy, and it is dead quiet.
But the flow rate, but Devin, you run that thing high. Even if you don't run it high all the time, I think a lot of times when we see issues where, so I see someone cleaning their calcium reactor out and they're cleaning out, like, we're not talking about the second chamber. but you're cleaning out a bunch of dust and fines. I think you can, if you have that extra capacity and you just run that
Yep.
thing high for a couple of hours, you can probably flush a lot of that.
That's fair points. Okay.
Yeah.
The real dough, that's a good point too. Or when salinity keeps going up a ton. Yeah, that's a good point. Because if you're dosing a ton of 2-part, you are going to affect your salinity over time. Now I know
That is true.
Tropic Marin has their part C, or I think it's called part C, but it's basically to added everything else to balance out the salinity. So something like that might help, but you're still gonna have elevated salinity, right? So do you suck some out and deal with it through water change, or yeah, kind of depends. I haven't just straight up dosed in ages, so I had kind of forgot about that, but it's a good point.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I think initially I was always told that your skimmer cup should balance it out, but at the point where you're dosing hundreds of mils per week, I don't think it balances out, because if you're dosing, all of that stuff is chloride, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
magnesium chloride. You think of BRS, it's calcium chloride. It's all chloride with salt. So
Mm-hmm.
yes,
Yep. Very, very
yes,
true.
that's a good point.
Yep.
DJ Mike Fury did ask a question if I am going to the Long Island show in September.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You're so
My
close.
wife
How could
isn't
you
here, so
not?
yes. No, I promised that I would go to the New Jersey show, and I didn't realize it's back to back days.
Mm.
I have to go to the Long Island show because I'm helping my friend with his booth. So that one I have to go to. But the New Jersey show, I'm going to have to do a lot of apologies, Dev, because it's the
That's okay.
next day. I didn't.
Yeah,
So for the
that's tricky.
vendors, I think it's no. I think it's great for the vendors. Maybe that's why it's done, because they come here, they bring their stuff up on Saturday. It's a single day show, and then a couple weeks later, they drive to New Jersey, a couple hours away. Like, or you can pack up and go to New Jersey and set up. So I like the 1-2 combination. Um, I do like it for the vendors, right? It's a 2-day event. So like Jason Fox is there. So Jason Fox drives up from the Maryland, DC area, right? And does 2 shows and then drives home Sunday night. So
Mm-hmm.
I like it. It's just, yeah.
Yep. No,
Yeah.
it's man, they're so close to you. If I could just drive there and it was a close drive, I'd be all over it. I gotta fly halfway around the country for half the shows. You're spoiled.
I don't drive, Dev. So for me, it's,
Okay, fair. A little more
which
effort,
I don't
but
mind
still.
doing. If these were on separate weekends, like, I don't mind doing this. I
Mm-hmm.
really don't mind doing it. It's just that it's back to back days. And then I'm coming back from Reefapalooza, because Reefapalooza is next week. So that's potentially 2 to 3 trips in a month. Ooh, yeah.
Yep. Um. Yep. It's true. Snoop Dogg.
Oh, that Connecticut
Passion
show, Dev,
of
you went
Humanity.
to. I went to that. I've been the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Show was awesome, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it
That
was.
shows a huge.
It's
It's bigger now. Oh, than
yeah.
it was then.
Oh, it was
Oh,
like
it's
5 years ago when I
huge.
went, but it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Oh, that show is huge. It's a school, and you go into different classes. I'm sure the show is
Yeah.
probably double the size of when you went years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Next
should
year.
come again, man.
Next year, I'll see what I can sneak in. I'll work
And
on it.
what happened to the Niagara show? Would that see? Don't even answer that, because for you, it's still a cross country ship. You can probably make it to Rap, California easier than you can go to the Niagara show.
It's a
So
shorter
don't
flight.
answer that.
It's a
I
shorter
got it.
flight.
Yeah, it's only 30 minutes to California.
Oh, it's more than that.
You sure? My
Yeah.
mind is telling me it's 30 minutes, and you're not going to be able to convince me.
It is 5. One stop though. It doesn't count. I'm looking. 4 or 5 hour flight.
No,
Yeah.
Google is telling me from Kelowna to LAX is 9 minutes or 9 hours. Sorry,
Minutes or hours. I mean, that's a little bit off here.
it's the same thing. It says
Non-stop
5 hours
only.
and 57 minutes with a connecting flight.
Okay. Yeah, there's no non-stops.
Air Canada.
Not
See,
from my
Air
tiny
Canada,
town.
the national flight carrier of Canada.
Do. We'll figure something out next year. I'll do a couple shows.
You
Kind of
said that last year, man, and here we are, 2024, and you said last year I have a newborn. Oh, can't do it, and here we are.
That's because I still have a child that I have to look after. I know
All
the
right.
struggle is real. It's tricky to disappear for long term. Anyways, eventually.
You'll get to the point where your kids can make you coffee and bring it to you. So kudos to when you get to that point.
Yep. Exactly. One day. Okay. If we missed any questions that you really want an answer to, please ask it again, and we will get it.
Let me scroll up and see.
$200
Thank you
coral,
again,
$29
Jamie,
coral.
for giving me the link to the Lagoon starter kit. I really think I'm gonna do the Lagoon we're changing offices, so I think I'm gonna do the Lagoon because I really like that form factor.
Yep. Economical reefer. A reef tank ammonia dosing, good or bad? It is a quicker way to boost your nitrogen. So there is some merit to it. I've only done cycle a tank, but I also have always had higher nutrients, so I've never had to like bottom out at 0 and deal with it because I probably had too many fish in my tank.
I've heard of people doing it. I've been sent a few videos I need to watch. I don't know. When my nutrients were before this crash, Dev, I was 0-0, and I had to dose. I was buying the gallon jugs of nitrate and phosphate. Kat from Brightwell, when I was at the show, she gave me samples of the professional level Brightwell nitrate and phosphate. That's way more concentrated.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to use it because of my issues, but I don't know. I think that's something I would have to think about. Listen, this as a non-scientist where things are over my head a lot, it makes sense to me. I'm gonna stick to what I know until I'm at a good place, and then I'll consider that.
No, that's fair. Michael Green. I think this is about the travel. $200 coral or $29 coral. I like the math. Yeah, it's some corals are cheaper in Canada, some are cheaper in US. Like at every area it finds there's like weird trends of what's pricing, what's like reasonable. Scrubbers, do they become an effective method of removing nutrients? I've heard it's a myth. Any experience? No, they definitely do work well. They grow hair algae, which is a simpler form of algae compared to like Chaeto or Caulerpa, so it grows faster because it's more of a simpler algae.
I just prefer refugiums. It's just a personal preference, one over the other. I just like looking at green algae. You see, my stand it's open. Like my chair is blocking the algae, but I just like looking at green algae. I got so much equipment in there, it's blocking me. But yeah, I just like looking at green algae. So that's why I'm resisting putting doors on the stand.
You need to display a Refugium with all the funky weird algae. Scrubbers are great for sure. Yes.
One-armed reefer. Hi, bud. Are you still liking the X4 lights? Mine's in the box, finally getting tank set up. I tried the Illumagic X4. I'm running one over my kids' Lagoon 25, the one that I butchered. And it's fine. It's a couple $100 cheaper than a Radion. So here's my you know what, Dev? Good thing I'm running this by you. Let me know.
Okay.
So it's a few $100 cheaper than a Radion. I think $200 or $300. I don't know anyone who runs a Radion at 100%. I think we all run it 50%. I think so far, asking my friends, I think Worldwide Corals is the only people I know who actually run a Radion at 100%, and that's because for the Lagoon, it's how many feet over.
Yeah.
So you save a little bit of money, you get a light. It's 125 watts, and there is a boost mode. The thing is built like a tank because
Yeah.
in the process of hanging it, I dropped it, and just to say it left an indentation in my floor. I'm glad it didn't leave an indentation in my foot.
Fair enough.
I've been using Illumagic lights for a
Yep.
while,
Mm.
and the new app, it took like 5 minutes to get up and running. So the new
Mhm.
app was a lot better.
Oh, that's good.
So, you know what? I'm really liking the X4.
Nice.
Nick,
That
Aquarium Cabinet Solutions, is running it in his new, he's opening a fish store, his new Coral Bay.
quick
And with a
question.
lot, yeah,
Just for my mind, that's the Illumimagic one with the 4 pucks in it. That's the X4, right?
with the 4 pucks.
Okay, I
Yes.
just want to make sure I'm taking the right light. Okay.
Yeah. And then one of the other things is the confidence to try it is because I think you can switch the pucks to freshwater. And as somebody who loves refugiums, again, my thought process was this light will never go to waste because if I need to switch it to freshwater to run my refugium, that's always an option. So I like it. I'm not even running the thing at anywhere close to, I think it's at like 20%, even that. So
Yep.
I have nothing bad to say. Only good things to say about it so far.
I have not used it, so I can't say. I've only played with like the older Illumagic lights, and like the LED mix and the color. I did like it. I thought it looked pretty good. The app, was okay. Could have been better, which it sounds like they've improved it. My only real complaint with the one way back when is the fan could have been a bit quieter for my OCD, but otherwise it was like a pretty decent light. So I haven't seen the X4 in person yet, but it looks like a funky light.
And it's really thin. Like I really do like the.
Nice.
It's really well built to the point where I think it's overbuilt, where it's a little heavier than it should be. Not as heavy as the old one, but it's overbuilt. So I like.
Nice.
Nothing. Also on that tank, I'm trying their power head again, which I like. I think I'm not seeing the value in the power head because once something gets into the realm of what a Nero would cost, but the lights, I'm a big fan of the lights. Really big fan of the lights.
That kind of looks like I don't know if it is, but originally there was like, I don't know if it's a knockoff or not, but there was a Jabo pump that was like kind of like the Nero, but not. I don't know if that's the same thing though. I think
You're talking about the Lua power head?
Yeah, is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've heard good stuff about the skimmers, and then overall, I think they have some cool products.
Yeah, the AC skimmers I was not a big fan of. That I tried, but I've heard good things. My LFS uses the two LFSs that are local to me, Manhattan Aquariums, which does service, and then the aquarium shop in Long Island. They both use them, and they're both big fans of the DC versions of the skimmers. Yeah, the AC versions, I found them really hard to tune. Really hard to tune, but the DC versions I've heard good things about. But I'm not in the market for a skimmer anytime soon, so I don't know.
That's fair.
I don't know when I'll be able to do the skimmer, but I can't say enough nice things about the X4.
No, that's solid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, okay. One interesting thing about the Powerhead Dev, it uses the combination of suction cups and magnets. So that might come in handy for someone in some application. So it's not exactly suction cup, but it's a combination of suction cups and magnets. So I suspect you can get away
that is
with
funky, actually. I'm looking at the photos.
You can get away with it using it on thicker glass than what it's recommended for. But yeah, that's something. Because I'm using it on a nano tank, I don't think it. But yeah, that's something I found interesting, funky, kind of cool.
Yeah, it's kind of a different way to do it. I like it.
Yeah,
I haven't tried it, but that's a cool feature. Was it quiet? This is always like my line. Is it loud or quiet? What's going on, Dan?
Which one? The Powerhead?
Yeah,
it's a Powerhead. Do you know any loud Powerheads?
Yes, I've had some.
Oh, the Vortex. Oh, when those things go bad, they go bad.
The freaking the Jabo. This is what I had to ask earlier. The Jabo version of the knockoff Nero. It wasn't bad at first, but after a month or two, it started to get really like loud and annoying. but I don't know if it was a bearing or something rubbing or whatever it was. But
Yeah, I've had an MP. I have an MP60 that when vortex go bad, they can be loud. Like if you drop them and they break or
mhm,
something. Um, hey,
yeah.
fan. But yeah, power heads. I don't hear power heads. I really don't. Um,
Now again, this was old ones, but I remember like the old school Jaba ones that I had. I'd hear them and it sounded like their else mode, which is like the Reefcast type of a thing. I remember hearing harmonic sounds or be like like subtly. But again, I
okay.
probably obsess over noise more than most people do. But I could hear it was like harmonic sounds. Like they'd probably improved by now. Um,
Uh,
because this was like many years ago. But
One armed reefer said he's running one of the wave makers. Not impressed. It's in the sump. Yeah, I can see. One of the things
mm,
I programming it was hard. But I think what I've been told is eventually everything will be connected to the Lua app, and then you can do it. Dev,
yep.
Tunzi, yeah, that's what I was going to recommend. The CJ
Hmm.
or Tunzi.
Yeah.
I like the Tunzi, but for my mixing bin, I prefer to get a gigantic power head,
Yeah.
mix the thing, and then turn it off and leave it.
Hmm. So mine mixes 24/7. So back in the day, I used to just use like a big CJ Voyager, like a big beastly one that I just bought super cheap off someone off Facebook Marketplace. And that was mine for ages. Now I'm a little overkill, but I have an OLED B40 in there just so I don't have to put holes in the bin. And it just runs at like 20%, 24/7. So it's always in there.
Yeah, I
Uh,
have a 6095. Um, I'm still a big fan of those 6095s. I think those are some of the best pumps
mhm.
on the market. They're such a wide flow, you can stick them anywhere and get flow in those weird corners. So right now, it is in my mixing bin. Um, yeah.
Sound control is important. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk.
Uh,
Then you're worse than me about obsessing over sound. But yeah, any noise in my tank, I'm like, must eliminate it. I've like upgraded so many pointless things that I probably didn't need to just because I wanted a quieter version. It's one of
did
those
you
things.
see the video the other day of March and um, and the guy from England, AAC? I've never met him, but my friends in
I have,
England that
yeah.
are in London, they go to AAC all the time. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, he walked in. He was like, "Why is it so?" Like, that video is hilarious because they were whispering. It's almost like you walk into. It's weird. The guys walk into Than's place. It's not the
Hmm.
first time I've seen it, by the way. It's so quiet, you almost think you're in a library, and then they start whispering. They're
Yeah.
like, "Why are you whispering? You were so." It's. I know Than is obsessed with. My bedroom is on the other side of this wall, and if something rumbles, you actually hear it at night when everything's off. So
Hmm.
when I forgot what I had. You could hear the pump ramping up at night. So no.
I'm not. I'm not as fancy as Stan, but he may have inspired me to redo the wall behind me with some sound paneling.
Sound dead.
Yeah.
Hey Dev, I got something for you. Dev, in all seriousness, I'm gonna put you
Hmm.
on the spot, dude. I have a red dragon pump sitting here that I have no use for.
You keep asking me
So
about that.
you can
Hmm.
send me your address and I will send it to you, and then we'll figure out something later.
So
But
I don't need one now, but if mine ever dies,
yeah,
I'm yeah,
but you have an extra controller.
I
So
do.
listen, you have half the equation. I have half the equation. I'm not, even if you send me the controller, I'm not using the pump. I
Yeah,
think
that's
there's a
fair.
higher probability of you using the pump. So
Fair.
at some point, we have to make this happen.
All right. We'll work on this.
Just send me your address and I'll send the pump, and then we'll figure something out later.
All right. Sounds good. Does
All
it have
right.
an
So,
impeller?
so for
Like a needle wheel?
it's a return. No, it's a the return.
Okay, so I'd still need an impeller. Okay. I'm just
Yeah,
using them for my skimmer, so okay.
yeah. But
Uh
you can swap if your skimmer goes, you can swap for
the
the
impeller.
needle wheel. But if you have the controller, you can just use it as a return pump.
Hmm.
Listen, I'm gonna get it out of storage and I'm gonna send it to you. So boom, done.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. We'll trade something.
All right.
Okay. CP, Reef Bum had an old school guy said he used to use pennies back in the day. It was so many pennies per gallon. That's probably talking about the copper dosing thing. That is crazy.
That's probably where I got it from. I think I got it from Reef Bum. Um,
Could be,
yeah,
probably, yeah.
probably.
Yep. Uh,
Yeah. You've been pimping that pump for years. I've been trying to offload it. It's just taking up space and I'm not using
Now
it.
it's gonna take up space in
Um,
my shed, but if mine ever dies, I'm sure I'll appreciate it. But
but,
otherwise,
yeah, but you have the controller. So you
I
have a
do,
working pump.
I
Right now,
do.
you and I have duds that we cannot use.
When we combined our powers.
Yeah.
Yep, it's true.
Um,
Uh,
yeah. I just one other note. I know the Seacher. I use the Seacher Ultra Zero
yep.
to to pump water from my mixing bin.
Hmm.
So for years I've been using half-inch tubing because it didn't take up enough space.
Hmm.
So a couple months ago I made the upgrade to 3/4 inch tubing, and man, so I know people listen. I know in my head because it makes sense that the bigger plumbing you actually get more flow, but Dev, it
Night and
made
day.
such a now I'm actually upset at myself that I didn't go 1 inch because now my water changes are so much to I've
Fast.
actually over drained the tank because I stick the Ultra Zero in the display and I walk away for like 10 or 15 minutes and I've actually drained the tank too far.
So what's been the biggest thing for me now, if I do a manual water change, I have two of the like 32-gallon brutes or whatever there, and I got wheels for one of them. So I'll plug my RODI with a float valve into one of the brutes has like a float valve a bit above like the ridge in it. And then I do that, I plug it in, I let it fill, I throw a power head and a heater in there, I mix in my salt. Then I have a Ultra Zero with like the short hose and like the Python hook on it. And then once I'll literally just put that into the tank, like hang it over the edge and let it pump it out. I can fill that brute thing in like 10 minutes, probably, maybe less. That's probably less. Just wait for that, turn it off. There's your water out, put it in the next bin, fill your new salt water back into the tank. You literally do nothing, it's bloop, 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 bloop. And then the wheels is on like my dirty one. So then once I'm done doing all this, I just wheel the big brute to the washroom and just pump it down the drain. And it's like super quick, like for doing like when I periodically am motivated to a manual water change. But yeah,
I
it's the only way to go
whenever
now.
I have like a 30 gallon brute, but I have
Mm-hmm.
enough 5 gallon buckets where if I need to do about 80 gallons at one sitting, I can.
Yeah.
So I'll fill the brute and then fill 5 gallon buckets. But to pump it to the bathroom and then pump it back from the mixing bin, it's so quick.
Yep.
So I learned a couple things. I learned the true value of using bigger plumbing because it makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so sad I didn't. So it's, people can tell you use bigger plumbing because it makes a big difference.
It
And
does.
I knew that, but it's different when you actually see it, right? In
Mm-hmm.
application for yourself.
Oh yeah.
Because I was using half-inch tubing and I saw how slow it is. And now I'm using 3/4 and I'm seeing how I
Double.
think sometimes we get fooled by when you're using smaller tubing, the velocity of the water comes out. So we get fooled like that with power heads sometimes, where if something is a direct line, you put your hands in front of it, you're like, I'm getting a ton of flow with something
Like
like a vortex or
1 inch
something else
jet.
that
Yeah.
spreads it. Yeah, that spreads it out. You think you're not getting enough flow. So I think we get fooled sometimes, but yeah. Go bigger, guys,
Yep.
if you can.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah, for if you want to speed it up, like if I'm taking my sweet time cleaning like the sand bed, then I'll use like the dinky hose and I'll take my time. But if I'm in a rush and I just need to get her done, yeah, the like a 3/4 or whatever the Python hose is with the CJ Ultra Zero, that does like that'll fill a brute in few minutes. Like it's sweet.
Yeah, let me just show you my little apparatus. Give me a sec. I know
Okay.
show and tell.
All right.
Ah,
Okay, John. The amount of water returned compared to the volume. I've honestly never overly paid attention to it. I kind of just tune it honestly mostly based off what's quietest. If you have like raging rapids through your sump and there's too much waterfalls, then it makes more sump noise. So I've always kind of turned it down and just until it was nice and quiet. So I've never really paid attention to the percentage of volume per se. But generally, like I'm perfectly fine having as long as you're using power heads for flow in your tank. Having the return pump below, in my opinion, it's fine as long as your heaters are heating your tank in the water and you know that everything's kind of stable that way. Then I think you're good to go. So I've never overly paid too much attention to it.
So I have 3/4 inch hose. I keep it
Nice.
clear because I want to see. And then I build this, stick this over the tank
Perfect.
with a valve. So
Mhm.
this, there's no way it's not, well, this elbow is not glued, so I can change the elbow if I need. But yeah, this union and this connects to the Ultra Zero. I was thinking of using Quick Connect, but they have metal in them and that
Yeah.
needs to be in water. So I just use a union and it works.
Perfect.
But yeah, this my water change, easy,
Yep.
quick, easy.
Mhm.
Yeah, couple plumbing parts. I used a good, I think it's for a company called HydroSeal. So actually, crazy enough, I actually glued that wrong. You see the flow direction, I glued it wrong. So
Oh.
there you go. But it works, man. It really
Yep.
works well. And just stick this
Perfect.
over the tank, pump water in.
I
My
like your
life is
45
easy.
at the bottom, so you don't blast your sand bed. Wise.
Yes, that's what that was done for, because on the old one, my old version, and mine is a little wide because I have a Euro brace. So it needs to go over the Euro brace.
That makes sense.
But yeah, that works.
Beautiful.
To the point, works, easy.
Love it.
Life's good.
I like it. Slightly fancier than my little Python hook, but same idea. I appreciate your little thing at the end. If I turn the flow too high, too fast, it will get my sand bed, make a little divot.
You should. I had a 45 once and it didn't work. It's still angled down. So I actually leave that like that. I didn't glue it. So I actually have another piece of plumbing somewhere. I think I keep it down by the return. So you can actually stick another piece of PVC and aim it somewhere.
Yep. No, that's fair. Okay, sorry, this made me laugh. The real dough. No water change is amazing. What do you recommend for a cleanup crew? I'm like, what are you trying to fight? He's like, various algae, diatoms, bryopsis. So I mean, no water changes, that builds up. Yeah. Honestly, special blend for that. If you're dealing with bryopsis, you probably want to use something like what is it, fluconazole, I think it is. That's the bryopsis stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, not many things
No
eat
corals. I think
bryopsis.
you can go to town on it. Yeah. You do the fluconazole. You need a lot for
Yeah,
three.
you,
I
you
think, yeah. I'm thinking he's a three, but I don't think Here's Doe got his 300-gallon. I know him.
okay. Yeah,
Um,
so yeah, diatoms, I mean, they'll kind of go away now. Reflux, yeah, Reflux is just another one of the brands of fluconazole. Diatoms, I wouldn't worry too much, that will go away. You know, hair algae, I'm a fan of tuxedo urchins for that. I find they're probably one of the better ones at it. But yeah, just, you know, margarita snails, just a special blend of stuff is kind of the key. You hear my little guy getting ready at the door. But yeah, fluconazole might be what you need for bryopsis because not many things eat that one.
I have a question for you, Dev. What do you use? I'm using the RO Buddy. I want to make water faster.
Mm-hmm.
I can do the water saver upgrade or run 2. I will probably need a better booster pump, but how are you making water, and how do you make water faster essentially?
I have dual RO membranes on my bigger unit. And that one, so the waste of one goes into another one. So it basically like doubles your production. That's what I do on the main one, and it works fairly well that way. And then I have I have multiple RO units, like one for each tank, but for the most part, yeah, just adding that second membrane will up it. But you also need a booster pump, so you need the higher pressure. I haven't used RO Buddy. I just have the whatever those little normal ones are, the old school ones, but it works pretty well. But more pressure will make water faster too.
So I need a smart buddy. I have a smart buddy, but I don't think it has enough pressure. So I think I'm gonna have to get a much powerful. It's the Aquatic Life Smart Buddy. I think it's made for 100 gallons per day. I do have 2 membranes already, but I don't think the pump that's in it is enough to fully drive 2.
Yeah, so I'm looking at their website right now. It says 500 to 100 gallons per day. So my RODI with the 290 or 200, it's kind of like 180 to 200 gallons per day. And then the booster pump
Really?
puts it at, like 90 to 100 psi. So it pumps it out pretty good. Yeah, so if you have two
So
membranes, I think you're under pressuring, is my guess.
do you run them in series, or the dirty water from one goes to the other?
Dirty from water. You could split it. That might actually be faster for water, but you'll have more waste. But yeah.
Yeah, and I'm in an apartment building, so wastewater. I actually have them split, and then it combines before it goes into the DI. I'm in a building. I don't pay for water, so
Okay, that will make water faster then. You just
it's
have more
less of
wastewater.
a, yeah. I think so. I think that's the next upgrade I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get like an auto flush kit because I do love the auto flushing.
Yeah.
I think that's what I need to get. I just need to get a more powerful booster pump.
Yeah.
And get rid of the smart buddy because it's just,
Well, it does the job,
yeah,
but if you want more
it
pump,
does the job, but I want to do water. I just want to make water faster.
yeah. Yeah, the Aquatech, that's what it is. Aquatech 8800
Yeah.
booster pump kit. That's what I got.
8800 booster pump kit. Yeah,
And it
I
has
want
the
it with
auto
the auto
flush and all
flush
that
kit.
jazz. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just that and just having enough power to pump it through those membranes and you're good. All right, I think I got a header though. I hear lots of radiance in the background. I got to take over the kiddo pretty quick. But appreciate you guys hanging out. Oh, thanks for joining me today, as always.
No problem. Oh, it's a pleasure, man. You know what? You should have me on more.
I invited you last week.
All right. Can I pimp something? Is it okay if I chill for a minute?
All right, chill away, buddy. What do you got?
No. It's just that
What are you pimping?
I don't make videos, and Dev's been pushing me to make videos. But I do live streams in the morning with Greg Carroll. So follow Greg Carroll, follow ReefingWithO. We do stream most weekdays at 10 a.m., 10 to 10:15 a.m. Eastern. So
7
I
in the
promise
morning
one of these
Pacific,
days,
really
Dev.
early.
Yes, 7 Pacific. But I promise one of these days I will make videos again. But for now, I think the live stream is a way to get my reefing fix out there. So I appreciate it, Dev.
Perfect. Well, thanks for joining me. Dedicated Reefer and Fish Ventura. Thank you guys for the super chats. Much appreciated. All right, guys, as always, enjoy it. That like button. If you're up bright and early, make sure to check out O and Greg's stream. And otherwise, we'll catch you guys next Wednesday. Cheers.
All right. Take care.